If you want to learn JavaScript, become a JavaScript coder, it can be difficult to know exactly where do you start. And this is obviously an important question. Not only where do you start, but how do you proceed so that you learn JavaScript the right way, become the type of JavaScript programmer that you want to become. Some of the things that make it difficult to know exactly where to start with JavaScript is first that JavaScript is everywhere. Traditionally, it was in browsers, but that's not the only place anymore. You can use JavaScript on the desktop. You can use JavaScript on mobile platforms. And of course, JavaScript is available to be used on a server as well. So JavaScript is indeed everywhere. And then on top of that, there are so many libraries and frameworks available for JavaScript that address different areas, different topics, different ways to use JavaScript to accomplish programming tasks. There are so many libraries and frameworks, it can make it very confusing. And these are just a few of the more popular ones. So where do you start? Well, I thought I'd put together just a few thoughts on how to go about learning JavaScript and becoming a JavaScript developer. First off, I think there's two approaches that work fairly well. One, which has become very popular of late, is a coding bootcamp. Now, not all coding bootcamps focus on JavaScript, but there are coding bootcamps out there that do focus on JavaScript. And in case you have not heard of this term, basically what it is you set aside 3 months of your life, you pay some money to a group that does this, and then you spend those 3 months working with others to learn to program. And there are coding bootcamps that focus on the JavaScript stack, and so you get to learn JavaScript on the browser side, JavaScript on the server side, JavaScript on the desktop. You get to learn JavaScript quite well. The downside of those coding bootcamps is you have to set aside around 3 months of your life. It's like a full-time school for 3 months. You go in the morning and you come home in the evening, and the whole time you're there doing JavaScript. That's both an advantage and a disadvantage. Another disadvantage is it does cost quite a bit of money. And so if you're not able to dedicate that time or that money, then you may want to look at a self-study approach. Now, some of the advantage of a self-study approach is obviously less expense. You can also learn from multiple sources. At bootcamp, you do get to learn from several instructors, but it's not a wide variety. Where with self-study, you could be taking online courses from certain instructors. You would then be learning from books, so different authors would be giving you their information and their approaches to JavaScript. I like that, and I think that's an advantage of the self-study approach. Obviously, with self-study, you can control your own program. You can decide what you're going to learn. And finally, you can fit it into the time that you have available. You don't have to dedicate an entire 3 months to learn it. There are also programs at community colleges and universities where you would learn JavaScript. However, you have to take a lot of other courses as well. So that's why I did not include that as one of the approaches. Now, here's what I think are the steps towards a self-study approach. Here are some steps to guide you. First off, I think you should focus on learning JavaScript fundamentals. I feel this is very important. JavaScript is such that you can jump in and start doing things right away. The danger of that is you find success and you begin to ignore all the fundamentals and you focus on what you're doing. Those fundamentals are important. You need to learn JavaScript the right way. So make sure you're not skipping JavaScript topics in order to get a task done. Once you've learned those JavaScript fundamentals, then I think it's great to work on a project. Sometimes if you start by working on a project, it causes you to focus in a certain area and you ignore other parts of the language. But once you have the fundamentals down, then it's important to start working on projects to increase your skills and your understanding of JavaScript. Those projects can be ones you make up. They can be something you're doing by yourself if you want. Or it could be a project that's part of your job, or a project that you're doing for a friend or something like that. But that's an important second step. Then I think it's important to begin focusing on the advanced topics of JavaScript. The next slide, I have some of the things that I feel are advanced topics. If you're wondering, well, what are those advanced topics? Now, this step 3 doesn't mean that you all of a sudden stop doing projects and focus on advanced topics. It's just that as you are doing those projects, make sure you're learning in more depth the advanced topics of JavaScript. Then at that point, you can begin learning the libraries and frameworks. Decide where you want to focus as a JavaScript coder, and then begin to learn those libraries or frameworks that apply to where you're working or that you're interested in using on your own. If you have this grounding of fundamentals and this grounding of advanced topics, the libraries and frameworks make more sense, are much faster to learn, and you will be much better able to apply them. Finally, you should become a student of the language and never stop learning about JavaScript. There is a lot to JavaScript, which is the exciting part of learning JavaScript. So become a student of the language and continue to learn. Now, I mentioned that I put down some of the advanced topics, some of the things that I think are important to have a good grounding of with JavaScript. Some of these you will begin to learn in fundamental courses. The fundamental course that we offer at All Things JavaScript begins introducing some of these topics. And then in our advanced courses, we go into a lot more detail. So I provide this slide so you have a reference to what I feel are some of the important advanced topics in JavaScript. Finally, if you're interested, I would love to have you take our courses, which we offer at allthingsjavascript.com. We feel it's very important to teach JavaScript the right way. And we have a series called Learn Modern JavaScript that deals with the fundamentals and then deals with more advanced topics. So if you're interested in our courses, you can visit allthingsjavascript.com. On our website, you can also find a link to live training if you'd prefer live training as opposed to online courses. So we hope to have you access some of our courses and hope that you found the thoughts about how to go about learning JavaScript helpful.